morning came as quickly as Alessandra wanted it. Unlike other days, she had woken up at the brink of dawn to start packing on her own. This annoyed Edgar, who wished to stay in bed longer, but Alessandra pushed for him to start packing. She also wanted him to help her pick out clothes that would be to his grandmother's liking, so now they were both in the room assigned to be her closet.
You should know the carriages and the land aren't going anywhere. What is it with you and Alfred waking so early to start packing?
Edgar yawned, still tired and desperately yearning to go back to bed.
I'm starting to regret this trip, and we're still here.
You just need to have your coffee to stop complaining, Edgar. Alfred said it would be a 6-hour ride if we had no stops. Therefore, it's best we set out early so there's enough time for me to make use of our first day there. 4 days will fly by sooner than you think. What do you think about this? She said, holding up a dress for Edgar to see.
It is blue,
he commented on the dress.
What more is there for me to say?
You are no help. If this wasn't such a rash decision, Aaron could have paid a visit to help me pick out dresses. I have no sense of style or clue what I should wear while meeting your grandmother for the first time. Why didn't you mention a trip when you let me off the carriage before you went to the Baroness? There would have been enough time for me to plan instead of sitting around on a bed waiting for you.
My mistake,
Edgar apologized.
There are plenty of servants to pack for you. Call Sally to do this. She is the one that dresses you, after all.
Sally has her own bags to pack, and she is writing a note to send to her family that she will be out of town. Can you have the messenger deliver her message along with the one for Tobias?
Yes. Alessandra, now that we have clearly established I am of no use to you, can I go back to sleep until it is time for us to leave?
Edgar asked. Go on, you grumpy man. Besides, you won't have any time to rest while we are on our trip, Alessandra stated. As her back was turned to Edgar, she wouldn't see the devious smile on his lips.
And why is that?
He teasingly asked, waiting for her to realize how he had taken her words. If your grandmother lives there, you must have visited the area many times. I will need you to show me around, Alessandra replied.
Is that all?
Alessandra slowly turned around to face Edgar. She didn't see what else she was meant to say. Judging by the sly smile and how much he was staring at her, it was something sexual. Nothing more than that, Edgar. Whatever you are imagining is not happening.
This trip is meant to be our honeymoon. We did not have one after our wedding.
There was no need for us to have one. Surely you have not forgotten how our marriage started? We do not need a honeymoon. You, who have always been against marriage, have no need for a honeymoon. This is simply a trip to get away from the people in Lockwood. Alessandra shot down whatever he was considering. Edgar stood up from his seat.
I've started to see the bright side of having a honeymoon. That's why Caleb, Alfred, and Sally will stay in one wing of the house while we have the other all to ourselves. We may need to move them to another house, depending on how my experiment goes. Do you wish to know why?
No, Alessandra quickly replied. She had no intention of taking part in whatever experiment Edgar meant. You can go back to sleep as you want.
No, I think I will stay and annoy you for keeping me up while I was begging to return to bed. I'll tell you why we would need to move them to another house. It's...
Alfred! Alessandra called, making Edgar look at the closed door. With her successful distraction, she made a dash for the door to escape Edgar's lecture.
We're going to be in a carriage for 6 or 7 hours. You can't escape hearing what I have to say,
he informed Alessandra while she ran away. One thing was for sure. It wouldn't be a boring trip. 2 hours passed by, and to Edgar's dismay, he wasn't able to go back to sleep.
Everyone stood outside the front door while 2 carriages pulled up to take them out of town.
Why aren't we traveling together?
Sally asked. What if Alessandra would need her for something? Caleb playfully patted her shoulder and said, Read the room, you single woman. The married folks will want time alone to fool around in the carriage. You and I'll have fun with Alfred.
Fun with the butler?
Sally looked at Alfred. Alfred was fun at times, but she didn't see him being fun around for such a long ride. For heaven's sake, he prepared a bottle of tea and a book to read on the road. I want silence in the carriage. If the 2 of you are going to do anything funny, we should get a divider. Should we? Alfred gave Caleb and Sally a suspicious look.
What?
Sally almost choked on her spit.
There's nothing going on between Caleb and me. There's no need for a divider. I just want this ride to be over with quickly.
Sally sobbed on the inside. If only men and women could ride separately. When were the bags packed on the carriages? Alessandra asked, as she had not seen anyone pass by with them. When we were eating. We have a carriage all to ourselves, Alessandra. Let's make these long hours entertaining. Ladies first. Edgar held the door open for her while Alessandra thought of ways to travel in the other carriage instead of with Edgar and his teasing behavior. It will be entertaining as I plan to draw the scenery we pass by. She showed him the paper and pen in her hands. I'm sure you will find something to entertain yourself with. She chuckled, enjoying his smile slowly being replaced with a frown. Alessandra was considering keeping track of the many times she won against Edgar. Why are you watching me, Edgar? Alessandra gave in and asked, after feeling his burning gaze on her from the moment the carriage took off. I'm waiting to see your skill of drawing the scenery while the carriage quickly goes by it. Don't mind me, Edgar replied. He sat with one foot lapped over the other and his right arm propping up his head while he watched Alessandra. He felt it wouldn't be long before Alessandra put her book aside. Alessandra found drawing almost unbearable while Edgar stared at her so intently. Can I recommend you find something better to occupy your time with? You knew we were going on a long trip, yet you did not prepare anything to pass the time. What did I need to prepare? I knew you would be coming with me. I am passing the time just fine. It is you with an issue. Can you find another way to pass the time that does not involve watching me? It's annoying. Here. She tore a piece of paper from her book. Entertain yourself with it. Edgar took the paper from Alessandra. With him occupied with something, she went back to drawing until a small, balled-up piece of paper landed in the middle of her book. Alessandra gripped her pen, irritated with Edgar, but she did not stop drawing. Edgar also did not stop throwing the paper to get her attention. Okay, so it was my fault for thinking you wouldn't annoy me with paper. I give up. She closed her book and placed it on the side along with her pen. What now? There's nothing for the 2 of us to do. There certainly is, but you never want to follow my plans. I'm still meaning to tell you what I wanted earlier about having separate... Edgar, I'm going to sleep. If I fall asleep, we'll arrive there in no time, said Alessandra. She fidgeted in her seat, trying to find a good position to fall asleep. But unless she held on to something, she would fall off the seat when she was in a deep sleep. Need my help? There's a comfy place here. Edgar patted his lap. I will see to it you don't fall. Alessandra sighed, knowing she did need his help.
Either she lay on his lap to go to sleep, or she stayed awake only to endure what Edgar had in mind. It was fun speaking with him, but 6 hours of Edgar finding entertainment in teasing her was not fun. Alessandra carefully stood up while the carriage moved on the bumpy road. She sat next to Edgar, and she was almost certain she could feel him enjoying the fact that she had come to him. Aren't you going to remove your legs so I can lay down? She asked as he still had one leg lapped over the other.
Well, first, I am waiting for you to ask if you can lay against. Wait,
He held her hand as she stood up to go back to her side.
must you ruin the fun? I'm patiently waiting for you to start teasing me back as you said you would.
Now that he had removed his foot, Alessandra lay in his lap. I don't want to have a teasing match with you while we are stuck in a carriage. Please wake me up when we are nearing where we will be staying. She closed her eyes.
Will do,
Edgar replied. He played with strands of hair that spread all over his torso and looked out the window as they left Lockwood. Edgar, if your parents find out we are going to see your grandmother, would they follow us there?
My father would, but my mother wouldn't tag along. The one person she cannot have her way with is my grandmother. If my grandmother were to visit us in Lockwood, you wouldn't hear a word out of my mother's mouth. It was my grandfather who arranged for my father to wed my mother. I've been told my mother and grandmother bumped heads from day one.
Edgar replied. Alessandra hoped it wasn't because they had similar personalities and therefore they couldn't coexist. Why are you so confident she will like me? She wondered. Over the last few days, she'd learned a lot about his family from Alfred and Sally, along with paper articles about them in the library. They were all wealthy and had partners from other wealthy families. She didn't find it surprising that one of Edgar's relatives married a prince long ago. Coming from a family with such a good background, Alessandra worried about her background. Her father was a baron, but he had financial troubles. Even if he did not have any financial trouble, he wouldn't have spent money on her. She brought nothing with her into the marriage with Edgar, so that his family would see her as a good candidate. Her money came from the allowance Edgar gave to her. Ow! Alessandra touched her forehead where Edgar had pinched her. What was that for?
You are already overthinking before we're even there. I wouldn't have taken you to meet my grandmother if I didn't think she would like you. Relax before your brain explodes. Besides, we won't be going to see her today. She doesn't even know that we're coming.
Alessandra's eyes opened as a thought came to mind. Edgar, does she know that you are married and who you've gotten married to?
It may have slipped my mind to inform my grandmother personally that I have gotten married.
What? Alessandra exclaimed. How was Edgar casually going to his grandmother's with a wife the woman did not know existed? For heaven's sake, they might give the woman a heart attack.
Just like how my mother and father discovered it, I'm sure my grandmother had someone inform her. News from Lockwood would have spread to one of my relatives who would inform her, or maybe Alfred would have sent the note in my place. The two of them are quite close. My grandmother certainly knows she wouldn't bother herself just to travel to Lockwood, as I would come to her. I will offer her an apology for not writing a letter.
From the moment they got married, something kept him busy, whether it be Alessandra's family or work. He meant to inform her personally, but it slipped his mind, which was rare. His grandmother would understand, as he was not one to forget about her. I will take your word for it that she will not be upset. Until tomorrow, I will not worry about it. Alessandra closed her eyes. For the time they would be out of Lockwood, she did not want to waste it stressing about new problems. Nothing would ruin her happiness of finally traveling outside of Lockwood.
That was quick.
Edgar thought. He expected he would have to say something more to reassure her, but she got over it quickly. Her ability to not care about things for too long was astonishing, and each day, her lack of care increased. Edgar had a feeling she was more worried about how the lie regarding the cook would affect him rather than herself. She didn't seem to care what happened to herself. After their last run-in with his mother, Alessandra didn't seem bothered by the woman or want to be liked. Was it because he was close to his grandmother that she was worried about being liked?
Silly woman.
He stroked her hair. If, for some reason, his grandmother wouldn't like Alessandra, it wasn't like he was going to stop their marriage. The only person she needed to be liked by was him. Seven hours passed by, and the two carriages were far out of Lockwood and in a neighboring town that looked nothing like Lockwood. From the trees to the way the houses were built, it was evident they were no longer in Lockwood. Alessandra was glued to the window, taking in everything as they passed by the homes and tried to spot where they would be staying. How many times do you travel to stay here?
2 or 3 times a year. Mostly when it starts to snow, as my grandmother has an annual winter party for the whole family together. Many of my relatives would stay at her home, so to get away from that, I bought a home. Servants are tending to it when I am not here. We should leave behind some clothes for you so you don't need to pack a lot of bags when visiting. Alfred and I have several clothes at all my homes, so we can make a quick escape from Lockwood,
said Edgar. Alessandra couldn't help finding it cute how close Edgar and Alfred were. How many homes do you have, including the one used in Lockwood?
We have 12 homes, one in every town, and a few extra to rent to anyone looking for a place to stay. Most of them are a way to earn extra money,
Edgar replied. You are quite the businessman. I wonder how many ways you have found to earn money.
More than you can imagine. I've gained enough for us to live comfortably for years, and I could just stay at home. That is why you do not need to work. I would not withhold money from you if we were to have an argument. I am not that petty. Toward you, at least,
he added, as he was indeed that petty to others. I see. We've stopped, said Alessandra.
Art supplies and traveling. What strange gifts I have to offer you to see you light up,
Edgar commented in a dull tone. At least he was getting to see her energetic side from the way she couldn't sit still in the carriage.
Alessandra, see to it you never lose this energy.
Why?
Nothing.
He shook his head and opened the door for her before the coachman could.
Go explore it to your heart's content. But do not stumble far away from the house. There are a lot of wild animals in this area. Many that you do not see in Lockwood, like foxes.
I will be careful, Alessandra reassured him as she practically jumped out of the carriage. Duchess! Sally exited the other carriage at the same time. I will remove my bag from the carriage and join you.
I will take out your bag for you, Sally. You can go along with the Duchess,
said Caleb. Oh, thank you. I will owe you for this. Where should we go first? Sally asked Alessandra. She was just as excited to be out of Lockwood as Alessandra was. It had been so long since she went on a trip after her family had lost all of their money. We should see the inside first, and then come back outside, Alessandra suggested. She hooked her arm with Sally's and walked up to the home entrance, which was smaller than the home back in Lockwood.
Which one was a bag again?
Caleb looked around the back of the carriage, specifically for Sally's, so that he could set it aside and take it straight to her room after helping unload the others.
Why are you staring at me, Duke Edgar? Whatever happened to not mixing business with pleasure?
Edgar asked as he walked by Caleb to remove Alessandra and his bags from the back of the carriage. I've warned the servants many times not to get into relationships with each other. One of them has to end up quitting because of the drama, said Alfred. Sally and I are nothing like that. We have only become close because we are often around the Duchess. Besides, Caleb paused to lift a bag off the back of the carriage. I have not seen any opportunity for me to get pleasure yet, for it to be mixing business with pleasure. I'm supposed to be setting her up with someone. Found anyone yet? Alfred asked. No, Caleb replied. I wonder why, Alfred replied while Edgar snickered. While you and Sally figure out whatever is going on between the two of you, remember what you two do will affect the Duchess. I'd hate to hear about your relationship problems because Alessandra worries about her maid. Do not try anything if the relationship will not be serious. I will increase your training if I must be burdened with listening to your problems, Edgar said. All I did was offer to take down a bag for her, and the two of you are talking about relationships. Caleb, the other men nicknamed you the Lazy Giant. When you are not fighting or doing a task for me, you are lazing around and won't lift a finger unless there is a woman you are trying to impress. You know what you're doing. Fuck, Edgar cursed as he lifted one of Alessandra's bags down. Did she pack rocks? Since you've gotten married, you've become weaker, Duke Edgar. Sorry, Caleb apologized after Edgar glared at him. I am not weak. I was not expecting her to have such heavy bags. I am certain she has brought rocks from Lockwood along with her. There is no way she has packed so many clothes for a simple 4-day trip, Edgar stated. He picked up 2 of the heavy bags and walked them to the front door. Duke Collins? A man stepped outside just as Edgar reached the steps. Allow the servants to take care of those while you settle in. I am Calvin, the butler. Your guest has gone ahead to see the rooms. Edgar placed the 2 bags down for Calvin to take. The woman with dark hair and green eyes is my wife. Inform the servants to treat her well. This is her guard. He pointed at Caleb. And Alfred, my butler, is meant to be on vacation. If you see him trying to work, tie him to a chair or whatever you see fit. Understood, said Calvin. He would need to be able to hold me down first. I will do as I please, Alfred muttered. Will we witness a clash of butlers? Caleb thought. Alfred might be older, but he wasn't as fragile as he had appeared. It was a big shock when Alfred once joined the men in training and was able to keep up. Instead of being a butler for so long, Alfred could have been out fighting to protect the kingdom. It wouldn't come as a surprise if Alfred had a secret story to tell about once being a fighter. Edgar entered the home with his right hand in his pants pocket. He didn't bring along any work to bother himself with, so he only wanted to lie around and do nothing. However, from the footsteps he could hear upstairs that no doubt belonged to Alessandra and Sally, he predicted he would be dragged around to do all sorts of things. I need a drink, he muttered. The first thing you need on vacation is not a drink, Edgar. It's to have fun with your wife. You should be the one showing her around instead of Sally. On the other hand, I will find a quiet place to read a book. Alfred patted the front of the book he began reading on the ride here. I should also do some gardening. I wonder... Alfred, I wasn't joking about tying you to a chair, said Edgar. Gardening is not work. It's a fun way to pass the time. Gardening for me is like sword fighting for you. Do whatever. Edgar gave up. I can only keep track of one of you at a time, and you're going to find some way to work while you're here. Calvin,
He called the butler, bringing in the 2 bags he had placed on the ground a moment ago. Yes, Duke Collins. My wife and I will have the side with the master bedroom. Assign a room to everyone else on the other side of the home. Try not to disturb us as much as possible. Unless it is Alessandra, do not disturb me. I'm going to get a drink. Edgar walked off to find the bar to have a glass of wine to start his vacation. Lunch will be prepared shortly for all of you to fill your stomachs after such a long journey. I will need someone to help me identify the bags so I can have them placed in your rooms. Calvin picked Caleb as Alfred was not meant to do any form of work. It will only take a moment. All right. I have nothing to do anyway. Caleb followed the butler outside. On the 2nd floor, Alessandra and Sally opened each door they passed to see what was inside and then closed it. The maids were confused by how they casually walked around the house, but then remembered the butler had informed them of the Duke visiting with important guests. The decor is the same as back home. I wonder if he used the same person with all his homes. I will make it a goal for us to visit all of the homes Edgar owns. Have you ever been to this town before, Sally? Alessandra asked while she closed another door.
Only once before, but I don't remember it well. I believe I had an uncle here, but he passed away when I was young, so there was no reason for us to visit after his death. One day, I will save up enough to bring my parents back to this town,
Sally replied. I think it might be a bit insensitive that I have never asked what your parents do. After what happened, are they all right? Sally felt uncomfortable being asked about her family at first. Normally, when anyone brought them up, it was to make fun of their position. She quickly relaxed, as Alessandra did not have any bad intentions.
They are both doing fine. My father works building houses, and my mother works for my aunt. They both live with my aunt for the time being.
Alessandra found it odd how Sally rarely visited her parents, but she talked so fondly about them. Alessandra offered for her to take time off and see them more, with her pay not being affected. But Sally rejected the offer and hadn't visited them once since coming to work for Alessandra. Letters were normally sent. As Sally had helped her out a lot, even if it was because of her job, Alessandra wanted to return the favor by helping Sally. However, she didn't want to pry into Sally's life or force Sally to tell her what was happening. Alessandra understood how it could be hard to ask for help and want to handle everything yourself. She could only wait for Sally to open up to her. Since you were tortured while riding with Alfred and Caleb, how about I buy you anything you want while we explore the town later? Alessandra said, to shift the conversation back to being fun.
You are an angel.
Sally laid her head against Alessandra's arm.
If I made the smallest sound inside the carriage, Alfred would look up at me from his book, and I could feel him scolding me without having to say anything. Then Caleb constantly asked me questions about the type of man I wanted to be with. He completely ignored Alfred's death glares and kept asking me questions. I slept for the majority of the ride, so I did not have a bad time. Before we continue with our exploration, I need something to drink and eat. It might have been a mistake to sleep through the ride and not have something to eat. We'll take a short break. Duchess?
Sally slowed down before they could reach the stairs to take them back to the 1st floor to where everyone else was.
Shouldn't you start spending time with the Duke instead of walking around with me? The 2 of you didn't have a honeymoon, so you should make the most of this time.
Sally continued to say,
Before you object, think of how little time you and the Duke had together recently. When will you be able to have so much time like this again? You've been meaning to find a gift for the Duke for everything he does for you. How about you get some wine and surprise him with it? I can bet he would enjoy the surprise of you asking to spend time together. I can find snacks too. I did plan to spend time with Edgar. I suppose his surprised face would be entertaining. Very well. Secretly ask the butler about drinks and a light snack for us to enjoy. I will look for a spot to spend time with Edgar quietly. We're always cooped up in our bedroom back home. There must be somewhere outside. Alessandra looked out a long window right by the stairs, which allowed her to see outside. Leave it to me, Sally said. During this time, she wanted Alessandra and Edgar to become closer than they already were. If no one were to disturb the two of them during this trip, Alessandra might end up pregnant. Edgar! Alessandra popped her head into the room with the bar where the butler told her Edgar was last spotted. She found him lying on a long couch with his hand covering his face and an empty wine glass on the small table beside the chair. Is he sleeping? She questioned after receiving no response from him. Alessandra entered the small room with the basket the butler was more than happy to prepare for her. She closed the door behind her to give them some privacy from the servants if Edgar was truly sleeping. She carefully placed the basket on the table next to the empty glass and stooped down beside where Edgar lay to get a good look at him. You have been really tired. I'm sorry for waking you up early this morning and having you hold me in the carriage while I slept. She whispered enough that he might not be able to hear it if he was awake. You're not awake and playing with me, are you? She reached out her hand to poke his cheek. Ah! She gasped when Edgar grabbed her hand. I knew you were awake. Why didn't you respond?
I wanted to see what my wife would do while I slept. I must say, it wasn't as satisfying as I wanted it to be.
Edgar opened his eyes and removed his hand from covering his face. Did you expect me to try ravishing you in your sleep?
It would have been nice,
Edgar honestly replied. He scooted around in the chair to provide her some space to sit.
What did you need?
I had a basket prepared for us to go and have some fun. The butler said there was a bench outside for us to use. It is so weird for me to say butler and not think of Alfred. Anyway, there is wine, sandwiches, cake, and pastries. Alessandra opened the basket to see what else was on the inside. While she did that, Edgar glanced at the window where tiny droplets of water were running against the glass. He certainly was not going outside in any kind of rain, only to end up with a cold.
I take it you did not realize the rain has started to drizzle.
It's raining. Alessandra turned around to look out the window and saw that it was raining as Edgar stated. How? I looked outside before I came here and the weather was fine.
It can be a little unpredictable here. It doesn't look like it will rain for long. It will soon pass.
He tried to cheer her up. But the ground will be wet. I wanted to go outside instead of staying inside. We're always inside. Hopefully the sun will dry up all the water soon so that we can go outside later. I will leave you be.
Why?
Edgar stopped her from standing up. She came to do something with him, so why was she trying to leave already? There was no harm in staying in this room and enjoying each other's company.
Stay. We can still enjoy what was prepared in the basket here. We need to pass the time while the rain is falling anyway.
Okay. Alessandra sat down on the chair beside him. It seems you already had a bit of wine. Are you all right to drink more?
I only had one glass before lying down. I can handle more,
Edgar said, watching her every move while she took things out of the basket.
What made you come to spend time with me? I doubt you quickly became bored of looking around the house.
Sally recommended we should spend time together since we haven't been around each other lately unless we are at dinner or going to sleep. I'm sorry for rushing off instead of trying to find something for us to do together. She apologized.
No offense, Alessandra, but I did not care. The trip was meant to be something for you to enjoy. We would have found time to do something together at some point, unless you plan to completely forget about my existence.
Alessandra shook her head. It would be hard to forget about you, Edgar.
Really? Why is that?
Edgar found the perfect moment to tease her. To his surprise, she was honest with what she thought. You are too special to be forgotten. You are Edgar Collins, after all. And you are my husband.
Oh boy.
Edgar grinned and covered his face with his hand once again. Alessandra was starting something she certainly would not be able to finish.
This trip is off to a good start, but depending on your next answer, it can get better. How comfortable are you with me right now?
Enough to be sitting on this couch with you and not feel awkward, Alessandra replied. Why?
I have a better location for us to enjoy your basket. Excuse me.
Edgar sat up from the couch, careful not to push Alessandra off of it.
I will be back.
Alessandra quietly watched Edgar walk to the door and exit the room. Should I be worried? She muttered. She tapped her fingers against her knee, awaiting what Edgar had in mind for the two of them. If only it had not begun to rain, the two of them would be outside right now. Minutes passed, but for Alessandra, it felt like an hour. To pass the time, she placed everything back in the basket. She was starting to think Edgar had forgotten he was meant to come back for her. The more she was alone, the more she thought about what he might have planned. As she stood up to go look for him, the door opened.
Did I make you wait long?
He asked, as she was standing up instead of sitting down. No. Is everything ready? Can I know what it is? She asked as her curiosity was reaching its limit. Edgar walked to the couch and picked up the basket.
No, it's a surprise. Here.
He held out his free hand for her to hold.
I should have brought something to cover your eyes.
Why? This was supposed to be my surprise, but now you've taken control of it. Still, Alessandra followed behind Edgar, anticipating what he had prepared. She was so excited that Edgar might be able to hear her heart beating quickly. Edgar took her 2 doors down from where they previously were.
It's ready.
Calvin exited the room with a maid. He blocked Alessandra's path from seeing what was on the inside.
No one will disturb the two of you. Good. Close your eyes, Alessandra.
Why? We're already right here. She closed her eyes and allowed Edgar to lead her into the room. After a few steps, she heard the door close behind her. Why am I hearing running water?
You can open them now.
Edgar released her hand and set the basket to the side. Alessandra opened her eyes and was greeted by the sight of a large tub with water flowing into it from behind large rocks. Why are we... She trailed off and looked away from Edgar, taking off his shirt.
A great investment, isn't it? I should have one added back home. Let's see how comfortable you truly are.
He decided to test her.